Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball Bank Shop best bet, you can find it at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday's conference tournament games in college basketball. First up, we see USC and Washington. This one's going to be a 3 p.m. Eastern start time on the Pac-12 network, the first round of the Pac-12 tournament. Now, I would say both coaches, especially Mike Hopkins of Washington, in this matchup are on the hot seat. Hopkins has been at Washington for quite a while now, and the program hasn't really had a lot of success in this conference and beyond. And Andy Enfield, a lot of expectations this year with the talent that he had. Now, some of the injuries, really hurt this team's chances for a majority of the season. But also, a lot of players underperformed, especially at the beginning of conference play. However, we saw USC really play well down the stretch, and they earned a big win against Arizona in its last game, 78-65, a blowout win against one of the best teams in the country. Now, you could say this is a letdown spot for USC, but Washington also just beat, upset its rival in Washington State in its last game of the regular season as well. A big win there for the Huskies. So, to me, I think both teams are kind of in the same boat here. Teams that were expected to do a lot this season didn't do too much, but have their chance in this conference tournament to run the table. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw with Oregon State, a team that was 10-10, I think, in conference play going into the tournament. They were right around 500 overall, pretty mid-season, and all of a sudden they ran the table, made it to the big dance. One of these teams could be those that Cinderella team to win this tournament and steal a bid. But I think USC has the better chance of doing so because we knew this team was very talented. It was just a lot of underperforming and a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year. But this team's as healthy as it's ever been. It's playing great basketball. It's on a 3-game win streak. It's won 4 of the last 5 as well. And it just beat Washington not too long ago, back on March 2nd, in an 82-75 win on the road. So give me USC in this one at the neutral site. I think they get the job done. Next up, we see Oklahoma and TCU. This one's going to be a 3 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. I think both of these coaches, of Oklahoma, TCU, Dixon, and Porter Moser, are very solid options, but I think one of them's built for tournament play, and that's Moser, and the other one has just not really done too well in these tournament-style, neutral site games where we've seen, Jamie Dixon in the Big 12 tournament, where while he's been at TCU, and even before at Pittsburgh in the ACC tournament, just not really get the job done. I mean, we saw Pittsburgh one of the seasons under Dixon. They were a one seed in the Big Dance. They, I think, were 31-5 by the end of the year, and they lost the first round of that ACC tournament. It just hasn't been pretty in these tournament-style games for Jamie Dixon teams, and I worry about that in this game. Two very similar teams with similar records in the regular season, but Porter Moser knows how to coach in these tournament-style games. He led Loyola Chicago to some big runs in the Big Dance, and I think Oklahoma is a slightly more talented team. I think fundamentally these teams are pretty similar. They have some issues turning the ball over. TCU, a much better rebounding team on the offensive side, but Oklahoma could compete on the defensive glass. And I like the fact that Oklahoma does a great job of defending the perimeter, top 10 in three-point defense this season. That's important. This is a good three-point shooting TCU team. I think Oklahoma gets its revenge after losing to TCU at the beginning of conference play. That was a game where TCU was home. We were actually on TCU in that ball game, and it was a great spot for them. But this spot, not so much. Neither of these teams were great down the stretch of the regular season. I think Oklahoma is the better side, though. I'm going to go with the Sooners in this one at the neutral site. Next up, we see Xavier and Butler. This one, 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. These teams played recently, back on March 6th, so last week. It was, a game we took Xavier in, and Butler won that one by 6 points, give him credit. But I think Xavier actually played really well in the second half of that game. Butler was up big. It was looking like it was going to be a blowout early. It was a 17-point lead for Butler, but Xavier won the second half by 7 points. They were strong on both ends of the court, and the final score was a close one, 6-point loss. I think Xavier can build some of that momentum from that second half performance into this game. And, Butler, we talk about how their 2-point defense really struggled down the stretch in Big East play. And, Xavier in that ball game, they were certainly dedicated to taking a lot of 2-point field goals. They took 54 of them in that game. Now, they only made 21 of them, so 39%. Well below their season average, but I think if you shoot a little bit, if we see Xavier regress toward the mean a bit offensively, their shooting percentage goes up to that 45-50% range, they should have a much better chance of winning this ball game and getting their revenge against Butler in this one. Fundamentally, they were there. They had 5 more offensive rebounds. They do have to do a better job at taking care of the basketball, but Xavier played well in neutral site games in non-conference play. Yes, they were 1-2 straight up, but they played Purdue, one of the best teams in the country, a 1 seed going to be in the tournament, and there was a competitive game for a while. They put up 71 points in that one. They played Washington, a solid team. They only lost by 3 points. But then they beat St. Mary's by 25 or 27 points. It was a blowout, 66-49. So I think Xavier's going to be fine in this game. They have a great head coach in Sean Miller. I like Xavier in this one to get its revenge and win this game in the Big East tournament. Next up, it's Oregon State and UCLA. This one's going to be a 5:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on the Pac-12 network. Of course, another first-round game here in the Pac-12 tournament. And this has been a tournament that's been chock full of upsets, at least in recent years. And we saw this with Oregon State not too long ago, back in 2021, a team that, we talked about earlier. They had no chance of making the NCAA tournament. They were 14-12 overall, 10-10 in conference play. That's not good enough in the Pac-12, but they went on a run in the tournament. They won the Pac-12. They made it to the big dance as a 12 seed, and then they won 3 games in the NCAA tournament against Tennessee, Oklahoma State, and Loyola Chicago to make a huge run. And, I think that Oregon State, not necessarily a team that's going to make a big run in this year's tournament, but a team I think is dangerous in this matchup at least, because UCLA was playing great ball in the middle of the season in conference play. They went on a nice win streak, I think 6 or 7 game win streak. But then to end the regular season, this team was really struggling. They lost 5 of the last 6 games. And, a couple of those were close ones against Utah and USC, but some of them against Washington State, they were absolute blowout losses. And even in the final game where, yes, they won, they beat Arizona State, they only put up 59 points in a game where they shot 11 of 20 from 3, 55%. If you're shooting 55% from 3 and only scoring 59 points in a ball game, you got some problems offensively. That's why I can't trust UCLA laying points in a game like this, because while Oregon State's offense is nothing to write home about, to me, we're catching points with that team. Oregon State has good tournament experience. Tinkle's a good tournament coach, and I think that there's value here with the Beavers. I would take them on the money line to get that plus money. I know UCLA is the much sharper team fundamentally, shot quality-wise, but they're ranked 333rd in effective field goal percentage, 346 in two-point percentage. They're one of the most inexperienced teams in Power 5 or Group of 6, conference basketball. And I think that they're just overvalued in this spot. So give me Oregon State plus the points on the money line in this one. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Wednesday card in college basketball. It's the first round of the Mountain West tournament between Air Force and New Mexico. This one's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern start time. New Mexico struggled, no doubt about it, to end the regular season. They lost 3 of the last 4 games, including a bad upset loss to this Air Force team, 78-77 in the pit. It was a home game for New Mexico. I think they were a 19.5 point favorite. We were on Air Force in that game. Didn't think they would win the game outright, but they got the job done. But I think it was more of a fluke or a perfect storm kind of game for the Falcons where their shots were just falling. I mean, listen, this is a great shooting team. Air Force takes a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. They're 45th in the country in three-point shooting, 43rd in effective field goal percentage. But other than that, they do not play very fundamentally sound basketball. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the conference and really the country. 342nd in effective field goal percentage defense, one of the worst rebounding teams in this conference and really the country as well. Turn the ball over way too much. They don't get to the free throw line. So if their three-point shots aren't falling, they're going to lose by a pretty good margin. And Air Force at a neutral site, don't love their chances. I do think their offense struggles here. I think their defense certainly struggles. New Mexico, not only is this a huge game because they're a team that's right now slumping, but they're playing with revenge, so it's like extra fuel to the fire. I think New Mexico gets that revenge in a big way. I'm going to go with New Mexico here. They played really well in neutral site games. Air Force didn't play. I think they played 1 neutral site game against UT Arlington, lost that one outright. New Mexico played a few neutral site games. They had a lot of blowout wins, 92-84, 90-56, 90-71, and then a 93-76 win over Santa Clara, a decent team there. Give me New Mexico in this one in a blowout. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.